everyone, I'm Funkats, and here is my Deadwalkers Magic 2014 Duels of the Planeswalker deck. I'm gonna kinda go through this and do some like live tweakings and tell you what I think about cards as I like justify them. Because I'm about to go through all these top cards and add a whole bunch of stuff. Like I wanna find a way to play with that. Oh my god, I'm in love with black cats in this deck, dude. If I can find a way to get black cats into play like 6 or 7 times in a game, then I'm really happy. Man, there's a lot of cards that I'm not playing with. I guess we'll start with that. You can be like, you're crazy. Rise from the Dark Realms, 9 mana, you kidding me? My games are over by turn 9, dude. Put all creatures from both graveyards into play under your control. That's way too much mana. 9 mana, I mean that's cool for like friendly games, but if you're trying to build a competitive deck, don't be drawing that in your first 7 cards and then holding on to that the whole game. You crazy? Think this is a game? This is Magic. You can play with 2 Endless Ranks of the Dead. They're kind of cool. At the beginning of your upkeep, you put X zombies into play, where X is half your zombies rounded down. So you have 1 zombie, you get none. 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 5, 2, 6, 3, 7, 3. One time I had 2 Endless Ranks of the Dead out. You can get 2 in play. There's 2 copies of it. And with the Vampiric Tutor, if you want to try it, you can like kind of root for it. But I still end up losing. It's almost like a win more-ish kind of card. I don't know. I love playing it on turn 4 and already just have this like generating army. Oh my god, I just talked myself into playing with it. This is really going to be a problem. I'm going to end up having every card. I just want all the cards. Nightmare. I'm probably not going to end up playing with this, and it makes me feel ridiculous, so we got to throw it into at least keep it into account. I think I'm just in love with Nightmare. It's such an old school card. 6 mana. Your Nightmare is power and toughness equal to the number of swamps you control. So turn 6, you play a 6/6 flying. Next turn you play a land and attack with a 7/7. I mean, what else do you want to hear? I'll end up taking it out. I'm not playing with Zombie Apocalypse, but I can justify throwing it in and then like fighting myself to remove it. It's like this other card, dude. It's like Rise of the Dark Realms, but only on your side of the board and only for zombies. So instead of getting all creatures for 9 mana, you end up spending 6. And you get all zombies from your graveyard. They come into play tapped. With this one, they just come into play under your control. Oh my god, I haven't even gotten to the cards I'm playing with. Shit, this vid's gonna take forever. Whatever, Magic is legit. Grave Betrayal, 7 mana. Whenever a creature you don't control dies, whenever something your opponent has dies, it comes back into play on your side at the beginning of the next end step. It gets +1/+1 and it's a zombie, so you get all your happy time zombie buffs spread around. This Abattoir Ghoul almost seems like a wall that can still attack. Like a wall that can still attack. It's 4 mana for a 3/2. He has First Strike. So if you're dealing with like a Sliver Rush, or they might have First Strike, but if you're just dealing with something aggro that's attacking you a lot, you can be like, bam, turn 4, this guy. Now, anything that only has 3 toughness, you can't attack with it, because I'm going to hit it with First Strike, and anything that dies from this guy hitting it, you gain life equal to its toughness. So you're pretty much putting up a barrier that will stop anything with a toughness of 3, and you're going to gain 3 life. So if they're thinking that they're going to attack and like overflow you with damage, the gain 3 life is just going to have them like hitting the next button really quick. Still not playing with it. Oh, but that sounded so good. For a while, I wasn't playing with the other 4 mana. Liliana's Reaver, but I threw that in. Veilborn Ghoul, I hate that I even have to click you. What are you doing in here? You're ridiculous. I think we all know what everyone's going to call the Farbog Bone Flinger. Actually, people will probably get creative, but he's so bad. 5 mana for a 2/2. When it comes into play, target creature gets -2/-2. I don't know who thinks this is cool, and they're going to do all kinds of like recursion mechanics with their Fargborn, Leghorn, BS. Vial of Poison, give something death touch, it's dumb. All the staffs are bad. Walking Corpse is a zombie with no abilities. You can play with a lot of Doom Blades. You can play with a Shrivel, it gives everything -1/-1. If you got problems with illusion decks and stuff like that. Soul Bleed's bad, not even worth looking at. Cruel Revival. You can play with 4 of these. I tried playing with 1, now I play with none. 5 mana, destroy target non-zombie creature. It can't be regenerated, so sucks in the mirror match. You can't even do anything to zombie decks. And you return one target zombie from your graveyard to your hand. I tried playing with 2 or 3 of these for a while, just hoping that it would synchronize with Black Cat. Oh god, how I love Black Cat. But it didn't work. Alright, wow, that was easy. Those are the cards that I'm not playing with, and I liked a lot of them. And I pulled a lot of them into this deck. Right now I got 66 cards, so this isn't going to be that bad. This ain't going to be that bad. Don't worry, I'll edit out that voice crack. Okay, oh my Black Cats. Here we go. This is my favorite deck. This deck is going to change the meta. This deck is going to like dominate. So whatever the counter to this deck is, we need to find, because people are going to flock to this, man. This is the new Goblins. This and Blue deck. Don't even get me started on Blue deck. I am frustrated and furious. Too frustrated, too furious, Phone Cats. Gravecrawler, 1 mana, it's a 2/1, it can't block. You may cast it from your graveyard as long as you have a zombie. Dude, we're playing a zombie deck. Anytime this thing is dead, you can pay 1 mana and put it back into play. Attack, it dies, and they lost something too, bring it back into play. Doing some weird sacrifice mechanic, sacrifice this Gravecrawler, pay 1 mana, bring him back. He is the core part of the deck. It's amazing. It sucks that he can't block, but this dude can. This is Diregraph Ghoul. 1 mana for a 2/2. Diregraph Ghoul enters the battlefield tapped. So it basically can't block the first turn it comes into play. We already know that it can't attack, and we're not getting any like haste mechanics, so it's cool. It's 1 mana for a 2/2, 1 mana for a 2/1. It's nice that he's a 2/2 and can block. Quest for the Gravelord is something you might like flirt with and end up taking out. It's 1 mana for an enchantment, and then you want 3 creatures to die. Every time 1 creature dies, you put a counter on this thing. And when it hits 3 counters, you can sacrifice it and put a 5/5 zombie on the battlefield. Man, sometimes you can get a 5/5 creature pretty quick. And then sometimes it's just a weird mental game. Sometimes I really like, I don't know, this deck has like a psychological edge. Same thing with Black Cats, and I think that's why I like them. With this, they don't want things to die to the point where they'll make decisions they normally wouldn't make. And it's just a weird first turn play. Okay, we got a Vampiric Tutor, dude. This card is so old school, like from Visions or whatever. 1 mana, search your library for any card and put it on top of your library. You lose 2 life. At the end of your opponent's turn, hit pause perfectly, which is so damn hard still. And then Vampiric Tutor, and then you just top deck your Mutilate, or that Black Cat, or whatever you want. I still don't know what to tutor for, since I'm not playing with some of these, like... I don't have, like, 1 good card that kills. It's like everything just works together. It's so weird. Reanimate might be Vampiric Tutor worthy, but then you're losing a lot of life. 1 mana, put target creature from any graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. Okay, so if you do a Black Cat, it's only 2 damage. That's not that bad. It's always good. It's fun to do it to your opponent's creatures, and then they have this like weird epiphany of like losing to their own units or seeing their own units used against them. It's crazy. This Bloodghast is a lot like the Gravecrawler from the beginning, but better and worse at the same time. 1, it's not a zombie, so that kind of sucks. It's 2 mana for a 2/1, it can't block. So it's kind of like that Gravecrawler in a way. If your opponent has less than 10 life, this thing has haste, so it can attack as soon as it comes into play. That's cool because this thing's going to be coming into play a lot. It's pretty ridiculous. If they're under 10, every turn that you play a landfall, whenever you play a land, this thing comes back into play. So every turn that you play a swamp, you can play your Bloodghast again, and then attack with it if it has haste. Or next turn attack, and it's just always squeaking damage through, or they have to block it, and then it dies, and then it comes back. God forbid you get some kind of card advantage with it, and then you're trading them Bloodghasts for like real units. Okay, I'm playing with 2 creatures that are 2 mana for 1/1s, and I always feel kind of shysty about that. I mean, like, it just seems like a weak play, like it's hard to justify. Here's the Butcher Ghoul, 2 mana for a 1/1 with Undying. There's so much death in this deck, and with Undying, it dies once, comes back into play with +1/+1. So you cast it, 2 mana for a 1/1. You can chump block, you can sacrifice it, you can attack in a situation you know it'll die. Tons of options, and it comes back as a 2/2. It's just good card advantage, and that's why I like it. Black Cat, dude, favorite card, just like, because it's cool. It really feels like a Hymn to Torah combined with another card, because they have to discard a card at random, even though it's in the form of a 1/1 creature. It helps that it's a cat, but I mean, it's not, it could be anything, and I would still think this card's super dope. One game, I drew 2 black cats, and then Vampiric Tutored for a 3rd. It was insane. I had this dude down to 1 card in his hand so quick. There's all kinds of cutesy mechanics to where you can keep a black cat coming into play. And I don't know. I didn't even play with it at first, man. I didn't know it was a zombie. And then I played with it thinking that it wasn't a zombie. And the first time it got +1/+1, I really freaked out. It's so good. It's like one of my favorite cards. You can play with 2 Doomblades. It kills anything that's not black. It's weird in the mirror matchup, and it might get shady against some dragons. I'm trying to find room for this Exhume. At first I hated it because it helps your opponent, but I'm completely in love with this guy, this Fleshbag Marauder. I call him the Fleshlight Marauder. He's 3 mana for a 3/1, and when he enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature. And if I love him, even though he makes something happen to both people, why can't I be obsessed with this Exhume in the same way? I'm just gonna have to angle it into timing and ways to where it'll only benefit me, and that just seems confusing, but like a challenge at the same time. If you Exhume and your opponent has nothing in their graveyard and you have a black cat, I can't help it, I gotta tell you. Sign in Blood, you get like a mini, small dose of a Necropotence. 2 mana, pay 2 life, draw 2 cards. You can even do it to your opponent if it's in that like dire situation and they lose 2 life and draw 2 cards, but tread softly with that, man. That sounds a little sketchy. Lord of the Undead, the zombie pumps begin. 3 mana for a 2/2. Other zombie creatures get +1/+1. That's good. It's kind of weird because it'll help your opponent in a mirror match too. But here's the kicker. Pay 2, not kicker literally, magic. Pay 2 mana and tap it. Return target zombie from your graveyard to your hand. You can get anything, dude. You can get like that small 2/2. That would be a weird example. But I just wanted to say something besides Black Cat. You can get a Black Cat. Here's the one other card that I would get opposed to a Black Cat. This is a lot of people's favorite. It's Geralf's Messenger. Or is it Geralf, like Geraldo? Geraldo's Messenger, 3 mana for a 3/2. This guy comes into play tapped, so he's kind of akin to what's his face back there, that one. Anyways, he comes into play tapped. He has Undying, so when he dies, he's gonna come back as a 4/3. 3 mana, Undying, comes into play tapped. Undying, comes back as a 4/3. That would be crazy alone, man. But here's the crazy part. When it comes into play, your opponent loses 2 life. He has Undying. You play this, they lose 2 life. Next turn, you either save it to block or attack. It dies, comes back bigger. They lose 2 life. It comes back again tapped, but I mean, come on, they just lost 4 life. Let's say you do a reanimate real quick after that, or God forbid an Exhume that actually works out in your favor and they just get something shiesty back. That's a quick 8 loss of life. Not even quick, it's like this slow bleed, man. Sometimes I feel like this deck is kind of like a Warlock in WoW, but I can't even expand on that. 3 mana for a 2/2 is this Death Baron dude. He's this zombie wizard, and skeleton creatures you control and other zombies get +1/+1 and have Death Touch. There's only one of these, and you can kind of tell why, because Death Touch is crazy in this deck. When you have so many zombies out and then they have Death Touch, it just stops all assaults. I already told you I love these Fleshlight Marauders, dude. It's a lot like a Diabolic Edict, which was 2 mana, each player sacks a creature. So imagine paying 1 colorless, and then you got a 3/1 zombie, and that's what it is. You can get a little shiesty. For one, there's only 2 of these, but when you play it, dude, here's what you can sacrifice. You can sacrifice a Gravecrawler, and then recast it. Same turn, if not next. You can sacrifice a Bloodghast and then just play a Swamp next turn. He's back. You can sacrifice a Butcher Ghoul and it dies and then comes back stronger than yesterday. You can sacrifice a Black Cat. Oh no. Oh no. They'll be so mad. You wouldn't want to do a Lord of the Undead. Geraldo's Messenger is a prime candidate with that life loss. And I've even done it and sacrificed himself and then made my opponent lose a creature in a pinch. I have never had this Grim Return work, but I'm in love with the concept of it. It's like this deck's version of a Twin Cast or something like that. It's that one spell that fits your theme, fits the theme of this deck that you want to hold on to just for that gotcha moment. Obvious first instincts are Black Cat, dude. Come on now. Turn 2, Black Cat. Turn 3, you attack and kill my cat. Grim Return. Choose target creature that was placed in the graveyard this turn from the battlefield. Put it back under your control. They discard a card at random. Black Cat. Black Cat deck. Death Cloud. You think this is a game? This card is just like Pox. Pox was only 3 mana, and each player lost 1/3 of their life, cards, creatures, and lands. This one's a little different. It's an X spell. You pay 3 and X, and then each player loses X life, cards, creatures, and sacrifices X land. That's for each of those things. A turn 4 Death Cloud doesn't seem very cool. I was gonna do this Facebook's expression, you know, it isn't cool for the turn 4 Death Cloud, the turn 6 Death Cloud. It's a good card. I want to find room for it, but at the same time, it seems more like a fun kind of thing. Liliana's Reaver is something that I gotta play with. It's 4 mana for a 4/3 with Death Touch. That's almost solid enough as is. And then here's the kicker. Whenever it actually hits your opponent, they discard a card of their choice. And then you put a 2/2 zombie token onto the battlefield tapped. I don't know. I feel kind of weird bitching about the fact that the zombie comes into play tapped, and then they discard a card at random. But 4 mana for a 4/3 Death Touch with those two abilities, like, I need to find room for that somehow. But at the same time, it almost feels like a subpar play in this deck to where, I don't know. Alright, there's nothing crappy about this guy. Undead Warchief. If you're playing with enough zombies, I don't know why you wouldn't want to play with this. 4 mana, and he enters the battlefield as a 3/2. Zombies cost 1 less to cast, and all zombies get +2/+1. He enters the battlefield actually as a 1/1, but when he gets 2/1, it pumps him up to a 3/2. And man, I've gotten turn 4 kills with this deck. Just zombie, turn 2, 2 zombies, turn 3, zombie of any nature, maybe a +1/+1/1. And then turn 4 this, you kill them. Even if they had like a couple creatures or a couple things in the way, you can still win. Turn 4 kills are possible. It ain't no goblins, but sometimes it gets close. Alright, we're coming up on the 4 mana casting cost spells. Here's where things get crazy. This is Endless Ranks of the Dead. You can play with 2 of these. I was playing with 1 earlier. Turn 4, Enchantment. At the beginning of every upkeep that's yours, at the beginning of each of your upkeeps, you put X zombies into play. Where X is, oh shit, I already talked about this. Oh my god, I've recorded, no, have I? I think I already did. I've had to re-record this video like 3 times already, it's pissing me off. Whatever, man, you get zombie tokens. I already did that 1/0/2/1 shit. Grave Pact, 4 mana. Whenever a creature you control dies, each player sacks a creature. Crazy in like big multiplayer games, but even just 1 versus 1, when you have a token engine going, or just creatures that you're comfortable with dying, like Grave Crawlers, Black Cats, and Bloodghasts, oh my. Just slowly whittling away at your opponent's side of the board is super easy. Oh shit, dude, my camcorder battery's about to die. Tendrils of Corruption, corrupt something for 4 damage, or deals X damage, where X is the number of swamps that you have, and it only works on creatures. Corrupt is the big version of that. Oh my god, I can't believe my camcorder's gonna die. I guess I'm not gonna get to edit this deck. There's Nightmares. You got a Grave Titan. It's 6 mana for a 6/6 with Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you put 2/2/2 zombies into play. Mutilate, your 1 form of mass creature control. Each creature gets -X, -X, where X is the number of swamps that you have. It's worth Vampiric Tutoring for.